Началось. Dear colleagues, so we are ready to start. I think two of our speakers, they said before that they have sessions this time, and they will try to come join us a little bit later, but we will start in time. So I warmly welcome all of participants and colleagues who are here with us offline, and those who join us online. Dear guests and colleagues, thank you for your productive discussion. This year's conference proposed a broader agenda for discussion. First of all, on behalf of Eastern Federal University and from me personally, I would like to thank you, esteemed experts and conference participants. This year, our event was honored by more than 100 participants from 12 APEC economies, 4 non-APEC members, and 3 international organizations. For the second consecutive year, we are holding discussion in the outreach format, which allows us to draw attention to the contemporary challenges of global education. This approach helps to involve more actors in overcoming difficulties on the way to building an inclusive and multifaceted educational system. This year, our agenda revolved around traditional issues surrounding education, delving into discussions on ties between universities and industries, but also touched upon themes that were never brought up before during the conference. For example, the development of artificial intelligence technologies, ecology agenda, and other. APEC contribution to development of AI ethics was one of the 2 main topics for discussion within the track Scientific Progress in the Interest of Communities. Prominent experts have presented their reports on ethics of AI, a shared experience of the technological companies, and the vision on the trends of AI technologies advancement, and expressed the need for APEC community to unite their efforts in altering popular perception of AI. Within the same track, researchers attempt to find progressive solutions to environmental issues. Our participants thoroughly discussed the ways to make an impact in decarbonization, shared the best practices on preserving ocean biodiversity, and defined the most promising areas for APEC economies, collaborative projects. Track number 2, the concept of entrepreneurial university, international experience of interaction between universities and industry, was dedicated to forming harmonious ties between universities, business, and industry, thereby becoming the successor to the traditional agenda of the conference since 2012, when we started. During the discussion, the participants considered the features of university approach to building connections between educational institutions and industry, as well as effective models for such interaction. Each speaker presented the experience of their organization in nurturing entrepreneurial talents in students, including those of engineering students, specialties, highlighted necessary conditions for transitioning to entrepreneurial university. So, we are moving forward, and according to the essential function of the conference, all expert recommendations were carefully gathered and analyzed to be embedded into the final document, the primarily analytical outcome of the event. This year, our speakers provided helpful and substantive insights on multiple topics implied by the broad spectrum of events, not narrowing those to just educational cooperation. Generally, the final document is distributed and promoted among partner universities, institutions, international organizations, governmental bodies, and first of all, among participants of APEC Human Resources Working Development Group, including Russian and foreign ones. We will continue this tradition to demonstrate that university is not merely an outpost of education, but also a valuable platform and source of international multilateral expertise for higher education. Before we move to the final part of the ceremony and the conference in general, we have several speakers who would like to present their views on the prospects of higher education in APEC space and make some conclusions on the course of our event. Thus, I am delighted to pass the floor to our first distinguished speaker, now His Excellency Nadiem Makarim, Minister of Education and Technology of Indonesia, will address the participants of our conference with a speech via a pre-recorded video message. We gladly ask the participants to look at the screen.
Your Excellency, Minister of Science and Higher Education of the Russia Federation, Mr. Valery Volkov, honorable participants and guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for inviting me to be the distinguished speaker of the 11th APEC Conference in Higher Education. I'm happy to meet you all to continue our discussion at the last G20 Education Working Group meeting and Education Ministers meeting held earlier this month in Bali. I am heartened that the theme of this year's APEC CCHE corresponds to 4 priority issues of the Education Working Group that I believe will serve as a guiding principle in promoting a global recovery and transformation of education systems around the world. In leading the global transformation, we at the Ministry of Education, Culture, Research and Technology are dedicated to transforming the national education so that it is adaptable to the realities of the present and gives students the skills and knowledge of the future. We do not know what knowledge the latter half of the 21st century will demand of our children, but we do know that the pace of change will only get faster, and the complexity of the world will only increase the need to be resilient in the age of turbulence. At times of uncertainty, our children should be a critical thinker as well as a proactive and effective collaborator, since the challenges of the future will be too complex for one perspective or approach to succeed alone. Under Merdeka Belajar, or emancipated learning, sets a policy that we are promoting. We are preparing Indonesian students to be future ready. We designed a new curriculum that allows students to learn as individuals with diverse strengths and unique potentials. That is why the new curriculum that we designed allows students to acquire essential skills of literacy and numeracy and the basis to develop critical thinking and problem solving, instead of just passively memorizing subject content to simply pass tests. The curriculum will be implemented by more than 140,000 schools across the country. It means that around 13 million students in Indonesia will have greater opportunities to learn in a more supportive environment that accommodates them to be experts in any field that they are interested in. Radical changes are also happening in higher education, with our flagship policies, Emancipated Campus, which facilitates cross-sectoral collaboration between business, industry, and universities. The transformation has brought students to learn outside their campus, experiencing and solving real-world challenges that they would have to deal with as graduates, and create numerous innovations through joint research funded by the ministry. We are breaking each of the separators between the world of industry and academia, as well as between disciplines. It is through collaborations like this that we can equip future generations with appropriate sets of skills and knowledge of the 21st century. In this opportunity, I would like to make recommendations to all delegates here today to put the needs of students as the top priority. It is only through an accommodative and supportive education system our students will be ready with any challenges that the future brings. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. You raised really important issues, and it's, of course, a challenge of our new normality. You're absolutely right. Students should be top priorities for every side, every party, for university, for governmental bodies, for society, and we need to focus on all issues that are linked to this problem. So the next speaker whom I want to pass the floor is the EdNet coordinator, Dr. Van Yan, who connected to us online. Dr. Van, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Professor Volazov. Can you hear me?
Yes, we do hear you.
Dear colleagues and friends, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for inviting me to speak at the closing ceremony. The 11th Conference on Cooperation in Higher Education in Asia-Pacific region will soon come to an end. 11 years. Altogether, if we counting by 2 or 3 days per conference, altogether around 30 days. For the 30 days, I believe that Russian colleagues have worked more than 300 days cumulatively. For all those who have experience of event management, we know that 1 minute in a conference needs preparation for 1 hour, perhaps 1 day or even longer. This applies for the administrative work as well as preparation of the speakers. As Chinese saying go about top performance, 1 minute on stage, 10 years practice off stage. Therefore, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to Russian colleagues, in particular Far Eastern Federal University, for their dedicated efforts for higher education cooperation in APEC region. We often say that ANAT is a family. We work together to share our lessons and experiences, to resolve our common challenges and achieve common prosperity and development. Every bit of success in APEC and in ANAT in education sector is the result of cooperation. In the face of COVID-19 Asia-Pacific region, we have jointly developed a report, Education Response to COVID-19 Asia-Pacific region, Challenges and Solutions. For better implementing the APEC Education Strategy 2030, we have jointly revised and updated action plan of APEC Education Strategy. And also to create the better synergy in our efforts for SDG 4, our education ministers have shared their vision on education development towards 2030. So in spite of all the challenges, we hand in hand, we have been working together to achieve our shared goal of inclusive and quality education for all. This conference has covered many significant issues in APEC region, such as the impact of AI on higher education development, rising unemployment rate, as well as aggravating climate change and beyond, such as AI for Good, Asia-Pacific contribution to development ethics and law of AI, the concept of entrepreneurial university, and international experience of interaction between universities and industry, and progressive solutions for environmental issues. I believe that information and inspiration from this conference would benefit all the participants and other APEC member economies through follow-up activities. I believe and I hope that through the higher education cooperation with the contribution of Russian Federation, as well as collective and concerted efforts of APEC economies, will bring the higher education development into better prospects in APEC region in post-pandemic era. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Van, for your continuous support and brilliant presentation. And I hope we will have much more opportunities to meet not in online format next time, because we are really missing all our events in offline mode when all participants of EdNet group can gather together in APEC in countries that are participants of APEC. So thank you very much one more time, and for the 11th time, experts from APEC economies and beyond have gathered together on the sidelines of Eastern Economic Forum to share their vision on the pressing issues related to education and science common to all APEC economies. They helped raise awareness of the technological progress in the sphere of artificial intelligence and discussed the role of universities in developing the ethics of AI, as well applying and mastering AI technologies. And I would like to give a floor to the next speaker, Dr. Grigory Aleksanin, Director of Institute of Mathematics and Computer Technologies. So, Dr. Aleksanin, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to greet everybody here. And I want to say that I am very glad that a lot of people from so many countries united to collaborate with artificial intelligence problems. And we here are working hard on integrating artificial intelligence in education. In the way we succeed is searching for students on social networks. And now we are going to analyze social networks for people who want to become students, see, make their portraits, see their interests, and invite them to join universities on interests. Last year, our partners from another universities succeeded in that activity, and that year we have some progress on that, and most of students from this year in our university are glad that they are studying on programs they fit in most way. So that's only first part of a large program in integration of artificial intelligence in education, and I'm glad that this one and many other problems can be solved with our efforts united. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Aleksanin. As a result of our fruitful discussions, we have gathered and shaped some recommendations from experts who participated in the conference. And I would like to briefly introduce you with them. After the conference will end, we will send all those recommendations to circulate among participants and among EdNet participants, I mean participants of the conference and participants of the EdNet APEC, and to receive more comments and contribution from your side. Then all these recommendations will go on to the next level, to our governmental bodies for their acceptance and consideration. So first of all, our experts asked to proactively maintain joint search for the most efficient models of higher education for the good of the Asia-Pacific region by continuing multilateral and open discussion between stakeholders. It's really important in our challenging time when a lot of communications was lost, and I do believe that our community, APEC community, will make a fundamental basis for the future. The second one is to enforce the creation of the framework for mutual credit and diploma recognition among APEC universities and beyond by designing intra-regional standards shared by higher education institutions. I think we should work on this more with more details in future. The third one is to promote the development of authentic and distinctive approach of the APEC economies towards higher education, prevent the imposition of the dominant global education models on APEC community. The fourth one is to create intra-regional educational hubs and competence center to accelerate the accomplishment of economic objectives within APEC. The next one is consider the balanced development of online and online models of higher education. Upgrade the existing hybrid educational approaches. The next one is to encourage international institutional collaborations, combining different educational traditions and approaches. The next one is to prioritize the development of AI-based systems of recommendations for students to personalize their educational trajectories. To promote the development of entrepreneurial thinking among universities students, as it will help them quickly respond to the challenges of a dynamically developing world. To provide higher educational institutions with autonomy in a transformation into the entrepreneurial university model for greater adaptability to the changing conditions. The next one is to change popular perception of AI through the encouraging AI hackathons involving students into designing AI systems, as well as engaging masses into scientific and technological processes through the lectures. The next one is to promote the creation of university-based business incubators, taking into consideration the needs of industry to better address the everlasting growth of labor demands. And the next one, to use project activities in R&D laboratories for industrial partners to teach students of engineering specialties in entrepreneurial competencies. So we will share all these recommendations with our participants, and we hope that in a short time we'll receive some feedback and some comments from your side. And the next speaker I would like to ask to make a small speech, Dr. Roman Dribluga, who is a director of the Center of AI, right, in our university.
Thank you, Dr. Vlasov. Yeah, I spotted the main issue that artificial intelligence we should establish the rights that makes artificial intelligence anthropocentric. We have to take into consideration human being needs, human beings' desires. We have to respect, and in any case, if we develop any legal or ethic system of rules, the human being should be in the center. This is, I suppose that it's a general rule. Of course, all our countries has different ambitions, has different views on the development of artificial intelligence. We have different common ethics rules in our countries, but I suppose that the universal rule, the general rule, should be the anthropocentric ethic of AI.
Thank you, Dr. Dribluga. Yeah, one more time, I just to mention that on the sidelines of the Eastern Economic Forum and during our 11th APEC conference, we established an Far East AI Center on the basis of the university, and it was a kind of contribution from their side to give more expertise and more data, more knowledge in this field. It's really good and important when APEC participants try to raise different problems and issues which are really challenging nowadays. Like AI is one of the most complicated, not only in a technological way, but also in just in communication way, because every economy has its own local rule local ethics to coordinate and facilitate what we are doing with AI. And as a result, we made a big research by the experts and specialists of Far East AI Center who tried to consolidate and gathered all the knowledge about AI ethics and regulations in all APEC economies and moreover in Asia. And I hope that this knowledge, this information, and this research result will be accepted by our colleagues among group. So, and I would like to say that it was the 11th conference. We started it at 2012, and during all these years, of course, agenda was a little bit changed, but in fact, we still are focusing on education. We still are focusing on creation the framework of mutual credits, of diplomas, and we are trying to develop our resources, human resources, to make our economies better and better. So, one more time I want to say thanks to all of our participants, online and offline participants, and it will be great to see all of you, I hope, this year in Thailand. But if if some of participants will have some limitations, I do hope that we will still will be able to meet in online, in hybrid format. And I want to thank all participants who are offline and online for their contribution. And I want to thank in advance those of representatives of economists who will make a feedback for us to make our recommendations better. So I wish all of you good health and thanks for fruitful discussions. So let's say that our conference was closed. Thank you very much for all your hard work.